How we doing today?
I'm doing real good.
Good. So you are the distiller for Forager, correct? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Bring the mic up to your face there. Yeah. There you go. So how did you get started doing that?
Well, that's a good question. I was chefing for a living, and we started running a food truck around Slow County. And late at night, we said, "Hey, why don't we start making some whiskey
Yeah.
on the truck?"
That sounds like a good idea.
A little piece out of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. Right. So you decided to do that, and so you kind of went more the whiskey route than kind of the food truck route.
Well, we definitely were food trucking. We were doing Mind Body and the Men's Colony and then Halter Ranch and, cooperating with society. But late at night, after it was all over with, we'd park the truck in Cambria on the water in the full moon and get that still going.
Wow. So then you were like just kind of like doing that. So are you up in Cambria then, or?
At the time, I was a chef at Centrally Grown.
Oh, okay.
So, I was up in Cambria. I lived on property a little bit until they threw me out of there. And then I got a house in Atascadero.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So then you're like, okay, well, let's just do this distillery thing up in Atascadero. It's starting to take off a little bit, or.
Well, actually, we're making that shine on that truck. And
yeah, right.
I told those guys, I said, I think I make better shine than those, professionals. And they laughed and laughed and laughed. And something inside pissed me off. I said, all right.
All right, well, let's challenge. Let's go.
Yeah, so I went home and told my wife, I said, I want to open a distillery, sell some of our rentals, get a whole bunch of money up and make it, make this thing happen. I knew she was going to say no, hell no, that's our retirement, So I said, come on, honey. And she said, all right, let's do it.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
She said yes.
It surprised the shit out of me.
Right.
I was like, whoa, that wasn't what I expected. Now I have to do it,
Right.
So I got going, and I said, well, you've got to put your money where your mouth is. So I sent a bottle of rum into a competition, like a international competition. And I used to do international competitions when I was chefing. So I thought, at least I'd place somewhere in, the damn thing,
Right.
It's always the last place, but at least I'd place. So I go and look up my name, and I don't see Central Coast Distillery anywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, this ain't cool. I looked at the bronze and the silver and the gold, and there's nothing, I thought, damn, they must not got the bottle or threw it out or something happened real bad. And then phone rings, and my buddy calling me. He says, dude, you won the whole thing.
Oh, no way.
And I said, yeah, that's what I said. I said, no way. I said, I'm going to call my wife again and have her check, because I can't take your word for it. So sure enough, the wife checked, said, you got a double gold, best in show.
Oh, wow. For your rum, huh?
Yeah. So a few days later, Rum Magazine calls me, and I didn't even know there was a Rum Magazine.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And they're saying, we want to do an article on you. And I says, you do? Why? You just won. We got to hear. Most of these guys from Antigua or
right.
Cuba or Puerto Rico,
right.
where they have sugar cane. We ain't even heard of Tascadero.
Yeah, no.
So that's kind of how it went. I had a lot of help. I can't. Wife was backing me up, kept me out of trouble, kept me compliant, and I had other people come in and taste things and tell me how it was sour, and got me back on the right road. And so the community has really been behind me the whole thing.
Yeah, no, I remember when you guys went in there, I'm like, oh, sweet, there's like a sweet local distillery going in, because my father-in-law owned the Carlton over there, so like, that one, and then the record store went in, and then the pizza place, and then and I think there's a CBD place over there somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's a good vibe down there.
Yeah, it's a nice little like area, and it's kind of coming up, and then it's kind of coming down El Camino. So you started doing rum instead of whiskey, or you just running moonshine to begin with?
Yeah, you have to have. Mom has to have tires, in a car for some reason. So you have to do like clear spirits like vodka and gin.
Yeah, right.
Blanco rum and all that, and then you put some up in barrels and pull it out later, and that's
right.
kind of what we did. So we put some rum away, and then we released that, and then we started releasing some of our bourbon. So it's kind of how we worked it. Cash flow's king.
So how did you learn how to do all that, or you just over time you just learn how to make rum and whiskey and all that stuff?
Well, I was chefing all these years, so I traveled the world, and I'd be in France, and I'd bang on the door of the chateaus and say, hey, I'm Chef Eric, came here from California, and I'd like to try some of your cognacs or armagnacs or whatever, and so I got a little taste for that, and I worked in Chile for the Chilean government a little bit, and I went to Japan. So everybody's got their specialty
Yeah, definitely.
alcohol. So I think I tasted some of the best in the world, and then I come back and work for different resorts, Ojai Valley and Pebble Beach, and had access to the liquor rooms with the keys, and would get into some of that stuff after work, and got a good flavor profile for just about every spirit. So that was the start.
Yeah, right.
What's the mark here?
Yeah, right.
What's the good stuff? And then part of opening the distillery, I told the wife, I'd take off for a couple of years, hit the road, and go to Washington State, which on Bainbridge Island, they've got a distillery there, Heritage Distillery, and they're now they have like 3 or 4 distilleries. And then I went to Texas and studied down there on the Oklahoma border with some people, and I went to Utah, out of all places, and studied. And then I started going to Kentucky, just like
There you go.
like a hound dog.
Yeah, right.
And met some really cool people in Kentucky, different masters of whiskeys and rums and gins, and just stayed on it. And
Yeah,
then,
right.
And then came back and kind of refined things, in the workshop, and kind of said, yeah, this is going the right direction. It's not. Studied some wine making techniques, studied some beer making techniques, just to kind of round it all off. And then just went for it. Bought the stills.
Yeah, right.
Put that 100,000 down on all copper still, and I was
Yeah.
in Mexico at the time, and my 14-year-old son signed for a still, and that was it. We started.
That's awesome. That's so cool. All right, cool. So, for bourbon, it needs to be 50% corn, correct?
51.
51 or whatever?
Yeah, who's counting, right?
Right. So that's how you're doing your whiskey, plus you're adding some rye and some barley in?
So I have 2 bourbons, 2 lines of bourbon. We have like Tennessee sipping bourbon.
Yeah.
So it's mostly corn.
Right.
It's the damn thing is probably 99.9% corn, because it's real smooth and easy drinking and sweet. And it doesn't need to age so much, so we can sell that dude. It's our best seller. We've been voted best bourbon in the county with that one. That 1% really is the barley that does that enzymatic conversion from a starch to a sugar.
Right.
So, that's our main line of bourbon. Then our other bourbon, we add a little rye to that, and that's like this protein thing. So you have to do like this clarification to the rye before you cook it in the still. So we clean it up, doing like a wine clarification, which everybody thinks, oh, hell, what's he talking about? But that's kind of how we do it. We have one that's just like easy, smooth, approachable, male, female, real sweet, easy drinking bourbon.
Yeah.
And then we got this other one that's like for that A-type personality, 111 proof. It's got rye. It's been an alligator charbel. It's just perfect for a bad day.
Right. Yeah, because I did see the other one when I got this one. It was like the cast strength. And I'm like, oh, that one is a little more than this one as far as strength goes.
Yeah, it's like the black cat of them.
Right. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do that quite yet.
Yeah.
So, but that's cool that you do it. So take me through the distilling process, or maybe the whole process in of itself. So you take the corn, and mostly corn, right? And you make a mash, right?
Well, I through my experiences, I said, damn, these train loads of corn coming into these distilleries in Kentucky.
Yeah.
I said, there's a lot of corn in there, but there's a lot of bird nests and other stuff in there, you know?
Right, yeah.
Because they're just buying this government corn in these trains, So I thought, is there a way around this, because I'm a chef and, I want to get just corn. And I want it really good. So I looked at the brewers, and they do things really sanitized, and their corn is like perfect. So you spread it out on a table, and it's all corn.
Yeah, right.
So you're like, okay, we can use this. Now, there's one way it's hammer milled corn, and then there's rolled corn. And the hammer mill is just better volume, better alcohol volume, better taste, but harder cleanup. And the rolled is less taste, less volume, but easier cleanup. So you can beat that system putting rice hulls in there. So you can, it's how you're going to get your corn. What kind of corn? Who's the corn from?
Yeah.
That's real important.
Okay.
And then, and how you cook the corn. And so we have a mash tun. So that's the first thing you do when you walk into a bourbon distillery. You look around and you say, do they have a mash tun? Mm-hmm. Meaning this apparatus that cooks and has a false bottom. If they don't, then how are they making bourbon?
Gotcha. Okay.
They're buying beer from somebody. And
then they're taking that.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have control of our corn. We cook it. It really, there's these strike points like the brew guys do. So we cook it at 200 degrees, let it sit for an hour, then drop it down to like 148. We add our barley, then drop it down to, say, 90. Mm-hmm. And we've got this yeast strain that we get from this doctor in Kentucky. He does like forensics on yeast strains. It's really a trippy guy.
Gosh. Wild.
But so you could go to any distillery in the world and collect their yeast strains just naturally off the walls and bring it to him.
Right.
And then he could say, I have that, or I could recreate it.
Interesting.
So he has yeast strains from Kentucky of all these different distilleries, and they all throw off different notes. They all react at different temperatures. They all have different pHs. What's cool is you can call this guy and say, hey, I'm doing this thing, or I'm doing that. I'm adding wheat this time. I'm playing around with wheat. Which one should I use?
Right.
So it's the corn, it's the yeast strain, it's the pH in the water. So you want to adjust the pH.
Right.
That's real important. And then what kind of nutrient? I mean, you give plants food, you give us vitamins, nutrients. Same with your distilling. Your ferment has to have these nutrients, magnesium and these other things. So,
Gotcha.
So you look at, okay, what is the brewer guys doing? What are the distiller guys doing? What are the wine guys doing as far as these nutrients? And the wine guys spend billions.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, us distiller guys, we spend millions on research. So, you know, you got to look over the fence and say,
Yeah, right.
you know, what are they doing? So you make this mash in your own little recipe way. And you do your little tweaks, because each time you feel like, hey, I'm getting a better corn flavor, or I'm getting a better wash, or I'm getting more alcohol, or whatever you're after, I'm getting more notes. And then you put that in the still, and hopefully it's pretty cleaned up. I mean, there's not a lot of organic matter floating around in there.
Right.
Fire that still up, and then the vapor comes off at 147. That's methyl, the stuff you definitely don't want to drink.
So that's the heads?
That would be, you know, the 4 shots.
Okay.
Or, yeah, the heads.
Right.
I look at them like 4 shots, because definitely methyl's poisonous. So we want to get those 2 ounces, 5 ounces out of the way. So then you go into heads, and those heads can be, with corn, they can almost come across as like a fruity note. Mm-hmm. So you collect those in a separate jar.
Right. And you
put that aside, and then you get in those hearts, and you collect that in a big-ass jar. And then you have the tails that can kind of be woody.
Gotcha.
And you have those. Now you figure out, how long am I going to age this stuff, and then you blend it to that.
You blend all 3.
Yeah. If
Interesting.
I'm a short blend, I'm probably not going to put too much of those outer ones in.
Right.
So if it's going to be in a barrel 6 months, 8 months, a year, I don't add that other stuff. But if it's going to be in 2 years, 5 years, then I can add some of those woody notes, and then work out
It'll
that
kind
barrel.
of smooth out, right?
So you're kind of playing this music with your spirit or your distillate.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I do it. And there's a lot of, you know, people hanging around tasting, and they're giving their, you know, hey, I think this is this and this is it. And you're running the still, and you say, you know, if I raise the proof, if I add a little more water and cool it down, I raise the proof, it comes out smoother, but less flavor. If I lower it and I get it down to like, you know, $120, 140 proof, somewhere around there, then, you know, it's different. So that you're playing with that proof coming out constantly. And then, you know, hopefully you get good at it, and you know right where it should be coming out. So then after that, you let it settle for a while. I don't move things, because the brandy guys, they don't proof things down with their water, being rainwater, reverse osmosis water, spring water, whatever water, you know, water from fog, whatever your choice of water. You don't proof it down all of a sudden. You proof it down over time to, say, cast strength, 111. So you go from 120, 140 down to this 111
bring it down
slowly.
Right.
So there's all that, and how are you going to come up with 111? Why not 112? Why not 110? You know?
Yeah.
Because you think 111 is like the perfect proof that works into that wood of that barrel.
Yeah, right.
So that's why you do that. And then it's going to go right into the bottle from there.
Right, exactly.
So those are kind of, you know...
it's a lot.
yeah, there's objective to that. Is there data to support it? There is some data. I mean, in schools, in different universities I've gone to, they have data that supports that. You know, who provides the data? Well, sometimes it's the barrel guys. You know?
Gotcha.
So
All right.
you wonder, you know.
Yeah, right.
So you do some of your own research. You do small barrels at 120, and then, you know, 110, then 115, and you kind of see how that comes out, how that plays out, you know. I know a guy that's cutting some barrels in half just to actually see how far it's gone into the wood at different proofs.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, how long it's seeped in?
Yeah, so I think there's a lot to be said about that. I don't think we have anything that measures that yet, except humans.
Yeah, tasting, right?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
So how do you source all this stuff? You're just getting it from, you know, your corn place and, you know, super clean corn or whatever, and
So the brewer's corn, you get it from BSG, and that's where all these brewers in town get their corn. And sometimes you can piggyback on, you know, what they buy, so you
Right.
save a little bit on the transportation. And then the yeast strains, I usually, you know, 90% is Kentucky, except with my vodka. I use honey, so I use a wine yeast strain, a champagne yeast strain.
okay.
But yeah, Kentucky, that's a place for you know.
Yeah, I mean, it is
only
the
makes
place.
sense.
Yeah. That's crazy that guy just has all those strains. I mean, I never knew that. I guess he has all the yeast strains and he can dial in whatever they have going on.
Yeah, he's got all the yeast strains. He's got the nutrients. His distillery is Wilderness Trail, so they're pretty prominent out there.
Right.
I have him on speed dial, so if I'm working on other,
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
That's awesome.
And he always answers me. I mean, that's what's so super cool about it. You know, it's really unique that you can get a hold of a doctor like, hey, I've got these agaves coming in.
Yeah.
Blue agaves.
Right.
What yeast should I use? What should my pH could be? Because I want his input. You know,
Right.
Because this guy
He's the
studies.
master. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's the master. He's the Zen master. So then run me through the rum, and you got vodka and gin, right, as well.
So we do contract distilling for other people. So example, Wilhelm is the top citrus guy in the world. He has these huge ranches with ouzo and blood oranges and all these different citruses, but he's got this one, bergamot.
Okay.
So he brings these bergamot into us, and we make a bergamot gin.
Interesting.
So what we do with that is we get the girls to zest all these bergamots, then we squeeze the juice, then we put botanicals
Right.
into the pot, and we
Like
knock
the juniper
out this
berries
gin.
and, you know, all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So that was a funny story about that competition. I sent a bottle of bergamot gin to New York for an interest competition, and they gave me a silver medal, and I said, damn, I know that gin's better than that. So I sent that bottle to Denver,
Yeah.
and they said silver medal. And I
Again.
said, damn, same judges. You know, this can't be
This is
right.
great.
Yeah. So I sent that bottle to Napa, and it was all women judges. And they gave us double gold, best in show. So
There you
I
go.
said, those girls know what they're doing.
They know what's up.
Yeah.
The Napa people.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, because so whenever me and my wife go, we've always made a pact to go somewhere new in the United States, mostly to go. And then every time we go to a different distillery. And so we've gone to a bunch of different ones, but one of them was in Austin, Stills Austin. I don't know if you've heard of that, but they make a gin out of the rye. So they don't age it, and then they just add all the botanicals and stuff. And that was really interesting. I mean, I'm not into gin, but I was like, oh, that's really fascinating. So instead of getting all this other stuff, they'll just use the rye that they're already making with the bourbon.
That makes sense. I mean, it's cool when people like take risks and stretch it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way to grow our industry.
Right.
You know, rather than being a follower
Yeah.
and just, you know, I just make rye like everybody else.
Right.
I make rye into gin.
Right.
You know, now they're trying to push the envelope.
Exactly.
Instead of having a bunch of followers, He's a leader.
Right.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. So yeah, we've gone to a bunch of different places. We haven't been to Kentucky yet. That's on our list to do the bourbon crawl. But I don't know. We drink a lot of Buffalo Trace here and stuff like that. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, I
So,
recommend you get out there. Yeah, people are super friendly.
Yeah.
Food's out of this world.
oh, okay.
I had Cuban food, obviously barbecue. I've had some really good sushi out there. It's just crazy.
In Kentucky, huh?
Yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah,
You know?
no, you don't know. So what kind of pushes you to do like new stuff? Are you just trying to experiment more, or are you kind of like, trying to figure more stuff out, or is it always just kind of trying to figure stuff out, new stuff?
Well, I think, you have to, honestly, it's just like everybody else. You have to have cash flow, What's the market bearing right now? So we do a lot of agaves, We do like a mezcal style, and then we do a blue agave, like a Casa Azul, like a big dollar blue agave in a clay bottle. And so it's same with the whiskey profiles. I'm thinking, whiskey's a good seller. It sells really good. And, we've done real well with it. So are we going to do some kind of flavored whiskey, Are we going to do like a real high-end rye, Like, they have a double rye coming out of Utah. Maybe we do a triple rye or a triple barreled rye or something, So, yeah, we're looking to expand our markets that we're doing well, low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
And then just do another line of that item. So we have 3 or 4 going on. And then we're also going to leave our existing place and move into like a 5,000 square foot place.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, down on Del Rio over there by the new shopping center.
Oh, nice.
So that means we'll have more stills. We'll have a lot more power.
Yeah,
right now we
right.
have office building power, and we'll go to a commercial power.
Yeah, right. When is that going to happen? Or just
It's in the works. We'll be out of this place in 3 months and then move into the next one.
interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. So then, I know you said the mezcal. So I know I've had a few mezcals, and that's like pretty smoky. Like it's almost like a smoke bomb, and you kind of have to balance it with your cocktail that you're making, right?
Yeah.
How does that work when you make it?
It's pretty cool. I dig it. My wife's Mexican, so we've got to have some agaves
yeah,
going on.
for sure.
Otherwise, she'd just be like, you have this distillery, but you didn't honor me. And I can't have that. So we get these massive agaves, and whiskey ages in a barrel.
Right.
Agaves aged in the field.
In the field, huh?
So we get these 20-year-old agaves, and like, I'm a hunter, and I don't mind, humanely harvesting things, but sometimes killing these agaves hurts me. This thing's been there for 20 years.
Right.
The kids planted it. Now they're going off to college kind of thing. You're just like, this thing's been in the family for a while. You sure you want me to take it out? Then you take them out, and they're really like bulletproof the way the fibers are involved.
They're big, right?
Yeah, they're just
huge.
massive, and they have
Yeah.
this astringent matter in them that if you breathe it or you get it on you, it starts to be like almost like poison oak. And then you got to cook them and convert that starch all the way over to sugar. Otherwise, it won't kick off. And we cook ours in the ground, so you get some of that methyl alcohol, throw it on pallets, cook those pallets, get a big ass fire, then throw in pistachio and almond, and then put those agaves on that, and then cover it, and let it sit in there almost like a pressure cooker for like a week. Then you pull those dudes out, and then we make false promises to Cal Poly kids about mashing them and helping us out, and give them a few beers and put on the radio. And I think they learn some stuff, and it's good for social media. And
Definitely, that would be cool. I mean, I'd be totally interested in doing that. That's for sure. Yeah, my dad was gone down to Mexico and done all that and taking the tours and stuff. And I'm like, wow, that's so cool. Like, just it's so different than what we do here, And like you said, it's like 20. I didn't know that the agave was that old before they even decided to harvest it.
yeah, the blues we're getting out of Sacramento, they're 5 years, and I think they're doing something with extra water and some, but they're 5 years. That's as less I've ever seen. They're more domesticatedly grown than these wild ones that we go after.
Right.
So we have different varietals of agave, just like wine grape varietals.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of agave varietals, but only like 20 of them have sugar in them. And then the blue agave has the most sugar per se.
Right. I always see like a blue agave with the tequilas and the mezcal and all that stuff. So it does seem to, they usually use those, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah, so that one we use in our top seller, our big bottle, and then we use other ones for our other bottles, Reposado, and then our mezcal style.
So is mezcal isn't aged though, is it?
No, generally it's a clear spirit. It's not aged.
But where does that smoky flavor come from? Just from the cooking process?
Yeah, it's pretty smoky.
It's like really good. I mean it's crazy, but yeah, we went to Austin and this place called Naranjo's, and they had a bunch of mezcal, cocktails, and they really balanced it really well with like pineapple and stuff like that to really complement the smoke. And it was like, I could drink this again, because I've had mezcal before straight, and I was like, I don't know, like no, I'd rather drink tequila.
Yeah, it's interesting. They can take a molcajete,
Yeah, right.
And then more and pedestal that fruit in it, put a little lime juice in there, a little, agave nectar, throw that in a glass with mezcal and ice, spin it, and, you're drinking it, you'll have 5 more.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now I'm doing this mezcal thing with scotch. It's almost like 50-50, mezcal and scotch.
Okay.
Nice peaty scotch.
Yeah, right.
And then a little honey syrup and just fresh lemon juice, and it rocks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so people are drinking those on a rock, and it really, that's, the two worlds colliding,
Right.
good scotch and good mezcal.
I don't think I would have thought to put scotch and mezcal together.
Yeah, those are the things you got to do, though,
Right.
Late at night, you start mixing the stuff, bourbon and reposado, let's try that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So I know you also do, you're a chef, but you also, you said over the phone when I talked to you, you forage with people for mushrooms too, right?
We forage everything.
Oh, everything. Okay.
The whole gamut. So there's, it might sound a little strange, but there's a spiritual side of foraging. There's stuff that different cultures believe work for different things spiritually. Then there's a nutritional side. Seaweeds and things like that are superfoods.
Yeah, right.
Kelps and things like that. And then you have foraging for botanicals, bay leaf and elderflower and stuff like that for gin. And then
Right.
you have foraging these big agaves. And then you have foraging for safe survival, like army dudes like me, ex-army. And, we forage a lot in Central America when we're out in the jungle. So, and then there's just foraging for cool stuff to add to your menu, I've never heard of that. What's that? Oh, this is da-da-da. I took
Right.
it down the side of the hill in the moonlight. But yeah, we get out there and, we talk about how the Indians did acorns,
Right.
mugwort, smoking that, dream inducing, things like that. There's so much out there, so many berries, there's so many different herbs and things like that. So it's just, you walk through nature and whatever season and you're pulling up some pretty cool stuff.
Right.
And then, I always laugh when, people say, oh, I got to stock up all this food in case something goes awry. I say, man, it's growing all around you. You just have to know the difference of, what's edible and what's not.
Right.
And the mushroom thing is pretty cool. I mean, the chanterelle thing's crazy over there on the coast. We just get like 5-gallon buckets. We dehydrate them, grind them up, make a chanterelle salt or pickle chanterelles or freeze them or, just grill them and stuff like that. So, yeah, the whole thing, I was in LA Times for it, and that kind of blew up, that whole foraging side of me. It really took it over to, another arena, I guess.
Yeah.
So, we still do that. It's fun.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
And we have just all these microclimates here. We have say on this side, it's a little bit more drier.
Right.
And then you hit the mountains and there's different microclimates on the way over. And then you hit the ocean side and there's all this different stuff. I mean, a guy had paid me at one point in my career very well to study this stuff, and he brought in the top foragers. I remember spending like a week on acorns and just documenting the different tannin levels in each acorn as we came over from the coast over to Paso.
Interesting.
And same with the bay nuts. We sent them to a lab and found out there's actually caffeine in bay nuts, and they're akin to an avocado. So we started making bay nut vodka and doing shots to stay awake. So that was how it all tied in. People are like, how's this all tied in?
Yeah,
Well, that's
right.
how it, and then, with all these things, you can mix them in your drink. So say milk thistle
Yeah.
is in Rockstar drink. Party like a rock star.
Yeah.
Drink milk thistle because it heals your liver. That's the jam there.
Oh, yeah, I have heard milk thistle, heals your liver.
Yeah, so bust that up, put it in some water, so when everybody's drinking, they're drinking this milk thistle water to rehydrate. So you're kind of drinking to the,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of what we did with it too. You know, like I was at Allegretto and we used
Yeah,
to do
right.
the willow branches, which was a natural aspirin for the Indians, the bark of the willow. So we tell people, well, go out there and do your s'mores on the willow branches and get some of that smoke going, and you won't feel that wine in the morning. You know? So, and then we tell them the story. You know, yeah. Would it work? I doubt it, but you know, it was fun to talk to
Yeah,
them
right.
about
I mean, people. I mean, that's super interesting. You know all that stuff. I mean, yeah, I'm always afraid of like grabbing something that I shouldn't, or you kind of have to be a little bit trained to kind of go out there and pick stuff. I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I'm assuming, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
There's hemlock everywhere, and that's how they got rid of Socrates. And it's a beautiful white flower, and it grows everywhere around here. It's so
Yeah.
gorgeous. But yeah, a couple of those, and you're gone.
Yeah, exactly. So we need to go out with someone like you and be like, don't pick the hemlock.
Yeah, or the midpoint is they got these devil's trumpets that just make you hallucinate like crazy, you know. And I'm telling this class once, about devil's trumpet, and I had a little experience where I got pricked by one once,
Yeah.
But it didn't do anything to me. And I noticed one of the girls got the flower in her mouth, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if you're ready for this,
Oh,
It's
did she take a trip?
Yeah, I said, I'm not sure you want to do this on this tour, And she's over there, and oh no. Yeah.
Was she all right? I mean,
Yeah, she went back and had cocktails and everything. So I don't know if she microdosed or what she was, her whole thing. But it kind of bothered me, hey,
Right.
not now,
right. Obviously. Yeah. Not now when we're just getting started.
Yeah.
That's.
You never know what these people are going to do on these
No,
things.
I mean,
Yeah.
where we're at. I mean, these people are crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
I bring them back. That's all I can say.
you bring- I mean, yeah. I mean, that's your number one job, and you give them cocktails at the end, right?
Yeah.
So, well, cool, man. Let's see what else I want to ask you. So, are you still doing a whole lot of cooking, or just kind of, with your tours and stuff like that?
The next operation we open up, we're going to have a full kitchen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm real excited about that. I've got some really good local people helping me on it.
Yeah.
So we've designed a real nice kitchen, and we're going to have an outside patio. And because of Tascadero, we'll be able to have cigar nights out there.
Oh, nice.
And, we can sell drinks to go, and it's open container. So those are some of the key points of why we're going to go big.
Yeah.
And then that kitchen is really going to help us, because I think supporting the distillery with food is something I want to do.
Yeah, that would be nice for sure. So, but going back, Atascadero has no issue with the cigar thing, huh?
Well, it's an interesting law. It's something like 20 feet from a public door, 20 feet from a road. So I think we're going to be inland enough, and then do like some kind of wall and a fire pit back behind.
Yeah. Nice.
So, yeah, I think we'll be able to pull it off.
So is that going to be where your bigger facility is going to be as well, or is it
Yeah.
all in one?
Yeah, bigger facility, outside seating, fire pit, inside distillery, kitchen, big bar, and
Nice.
not a dining room, more like a coffee shop. Kind
Okay.
of like this, chairs and sofas.
Yeah, just hanging out.
And just bites and those things.
Yeah.
Instead of just, like a dining room thing.
Right.
You got to sit over there.
So you run the kitchen or somebody else's?
Oh, I'm sure I'll be in there,
So you're making the menu and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'll make the menu. But, I like to get somebody in there to take the reins and just kind of, see what they got.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if there was ever something where he wanted or she wanted to take off, hey, go. I
You
feel
take it over.
comfortable. I can
Right.
do it for whatever.
Right. Nice.
And I want to bring some people in, some pop-up guys.
Yeah.
There's some great guys that do street food.
Right.
In this county. So, have them pop up, one night outside in the patio, and then pop-up bar and some kind of pop-up, guitar.
Nice, man.
We'll see what the wife says.
Well, I mean, she hasn't said no yet. I mean,
Well, not overtly. She said no a few times. Yeah, behind closed doors.
yeah, of course. But I mean, I still think you guys are doing great, and I'm stoked that you guys are here. I mean, it's right up the street from us. It's awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I mean, because the closest one is what, Slow, and, that's Rod and Hammer, and there's what is there? Crowbar?
Yeah, Crowbar. There's like 14 in our county
Oh, really?
that are legal. I know a few more. But there's definitely like 14, 16. There's some good ones out there. They're all good. They all have their, their niche, and we try not to compete against each
Right.
other. I think there's like this friendly thing of, everybody's doing their thing and let's not step on anybody's toes, which I
Right.
think is super cool. But yeah, they're in every direction, and it brings people to us, and that synergy sends them to the next one. And
Right.
I try to honor whatever they have going on at the last one. They have like copper cards they walk around with, and I try to honor them and say,
Oh, right.
yeah, that works here too.
Oh, nice. Sweet. What else you got going on?
Well, it was interesting. One of my partners for this next business. He makes Abode. It's a Syrian liquor,
Okay.
and it's from a culture that's like one of the oldest existing cultures in the world. And this spirit Abode is really difficult to make because it's made with anise. And,
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's slowly cooked so it doesn't burn. So, they're making it, and I'm telling them, hey, you can't do that. You got to have a license. And they're like, hey, in our country,
Hey,
we,
but-
we get caught, we get killed in our country making this stuff. And I say, well, in this country, it's worse. They fine you and put you in jail, and they don't quit. It just goes on and on.
Right.
You wish you were dead.
Yeah.
So we jump in and we said, hey, let's make this Abode. And we started making the Abode, and notice there's two markets. There's a Middle Eastern market and the American market, just like the tequila. Tequila's got a market for the Mexicans, at home, and then it got an American market with this tequila.
Right.
Same with this Abode. So we started doing this Abode and started doing some American style drinks and the Middle Eastern stuff, and it kind of took off, real well. And I was like, wow, this is great, So we're doing another venture just on the other side of the world, and I think we're like one of the first Abode makers in this country at this time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there's nowhere else that makes that here in the United States.
Well, I think there's been some pop-ups, but I don't think they've successfully sustained it because it's just pretty difficult. It's only two ingredients, but it's pretty difficult
So
to
it's just
make.
water and star anise?
Well, it's grape-based spirit and then anise, and it's the way you cook it, and the apparatus is what you cook it with. You get on YouTube and you look at
Yeah,
these
I'll have to look
dudes
into that.
in Syria, and they're making this Abode illegally up in the mountains because if they get killed, the punishment's like,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So you look at their apparatuses and you say, damn, you gotta get more close to that. They have a column without the sight glass, without any clarification, so it's almost like a straight pipe to take that oil over. But if you run it too fast, you burn it because there's so much oil. So you got to like coax this oil up very
Oh my
gently.
gosh.
Yeah, it drove me nuts for a while. These guys saw it through, but I was like, because it's like their tequila.
Right.
They're from their country. But now I'm pretty proud I'm making it.
So you're making it where you're at.
Yeah, under our label.
So did you have to get the apparatus to do that then?
We had to like change a lot of things.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
like that's a completely different process than what you're doing.
Yeah, we had to call the manufacturer of one of the stills and say, no, we need this, we need that. And they're like, for what? Like, never heard of this, I
Interesting.
was like, no, we're going to get this, dude. We're going to make it, and it's going to be successful. And even the distributor, when I did the presentation for the 12, 16 sales people, they're all looking at me like, really? And they taste it and they go, wow, there's a lot going on. In fact, winemakers say this is the best, most interesting spirit they ever had because there's so many dimensions to it, even though there's just two ingredients.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's that.
Yeah, it's really interesting to have a winemaker come in and say stuff like that. But I did a presentation for our distributor, and I could tell that it wasn't, like this
Going over
yeah,
too
it's like-
great.
yeah, and I'm pretty good at like the pony show thing.
Right.
And I had all the drinks with like frozen watermelon for ice cubes, and I had like Sazeracs where I use that instead of absinthe. And
Oh,
I had
yeah.
chocolate liqueurs, little black licorice and playing the discordance with a little vodka. And, they liked it all. They were all very polite. But then we started getting some orders because there's some markets for these Middle Eastern people,
Oh, okay.
So a lot of liquor stores and convenience stores and some big churches. And, we started getting some orders and it started taking off. Then the bottle sales at where we're at started taking off. And, I don't know if it had anything to do with promising the girls $5 a bottle they sell, but it took off, Yeah. And we did some videos with some local people and some
Yeah.
cute girls in them and stuff like that, and got it on social media, and it's been doing pretty good. So now we're gonna probably expand that. Go a little bigger.
So, but that also, is that aged as well, or is that just comes right out of the pipe and bottled?
When you look at the videos over there in Syria when they're making it, they put it in clay pots with like cheesecloth over it, so it's open air aged, but not in a barrel. I think some of that ethyl comes off of that spirit and kind of gets some of that distilling. I don't even know how to accentuate the words, but it almost like when you aerate something, when wine you put it through an aerator, it kind of opens it up.
Right.
Well, by having that spirit open to the air, I think it does aerate it naturally. And some of this is aerated for a year in these clay pots. We do a technique like that, but not for a year.
Yeah,
'Cause
that
we
seems
gotta
like a
move
long.
it.
Yeah, right.
But we definitely aerate it before we bottle it, not age it.
I have to look into that because I've never heard of that. So I'd have to look into it. Yeah, you have it on your website or something, or your social media.
We do. We've run a couple social media things, but I suggest people come in and taste it because I make different drinks out of it. I make a lemon drop that's out of this world.
Oh yeah.
So I tell people, come in and try it. You got to try it. And usually I'll say, do you like black licorice or do you not? Because it's either I love it or I hate it.
That's me and my wife. My wife loves black licorice, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, that's how it is.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm like, because she grew up with it. And her grandpa would always give her black licorice. And I'm like, nah, it's not a thing for me. She likes the fennel and star anise, those kinds of flavors. And
It's really cool because, like, bourbon goes with bacon and barbecue
right.
pork and
Yeah,
all
right.
that. And then you got vodka goes with caviar and smoked salmon. And then you got rum goes with that mango chutney and, all that and then you got Odic.
yeah.
And it goes really well with everything that doesn't go, like fresh lemon juice, fresh garlic, hummus.
So kind of
lamb.
really bold flavors
Yeah,
going
all
on.
that Middle Eastern food. So all those things have their flavors that go with it on the food side, which is really cool. And now I found something over there that, is kind of cool. So it opened my mind on that too.
So you're like, oh well, like we have some Mediterranean food with that, some kebabs or stuff like that.
It totally makes sense,
Right.
that why they have that. And then they drink it. We sell it at 100 proof, but they water it down and turn it into like a tiger's milk, so it turns white. And then they drink it with ice, and it's almost like 17% because it's so hot over there. Then they drink it all day. If they drank 100 proof all day, they'd be knocked
toast,
out.
yeah.
But they water it down, they water it back, and then they drink it slowly, which is really cool. Us, we're knocking it out with some whiskey or
Yeah, right. You're
Make a
making
lemon
cocktails
drop.
out of
Yeah.
it, right? Yeah. Oh, that's so. It's kind of like their Middle Eastern beer, kind of like a little bit, right?
Yeah, it's there's so many funny stories about them hiding it. Them driving on their motorcycles at night, delivering it, and how they got some spies to use it to work their way up into the government. And it's on Wikipedia, some of this stuff. It's kind of a cool thing, once you get into it, pull the curtain back and look,
Yeah.
what's going on and how it all started. And, they used to have the ferment tanks in their houses under the floorboards, and they'd put cement over the ferments, and then they put carpets over it, and they remember as kids stepping on the grapes to make the juice, and then they just still
gosh.
it, and all kinds of stories.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty similar to like what we do here, like with all the the American bourbon, I guess, so similar.
Yeah,
As
yeah.
far as the stories go, people, in the backwoods making it, and
Yeah, racing cars, and then they turn into those race car drivers, Yeah.
yeah, wow, that's interesting. So, but do you sell those bottles there at your place?
We sell them at the place, and then we run them through the distributor as well. So they go out. We sometimes we'll donate it for different events too. Yeah.
Have you put that into any kind of competition? I mean, I don't know if there's a competition for that, but
We haven't put it into a competition yet. We do want to get like a premium line of that and do some of that aging in some of those clay pots traditionally and everything. And we don't feel like, hey, we're like at that premium level where we'd like to be. Right now, we're understanding the process and how to make it, and we feel like we have a good product. But I think we could take it to another level.
yeah.
And we've tried some canned cocktails with it. So we've had we did some watermelon with the Audic, and then almost like a sparkler kind of thing, and then a couple with lemon, and they worked out pretty cool. So we don't know if we're going to do this canned cocktail thing with it either.
That's interesting. So, but as far as what was I going to ask? When you make that, do you add yeast to that as well, just like every other process?
We get wine because there's 400 something wineries here, and I would say probably 30 of them are good. The rest are trying.
Right, there's so many.
So there's a lot of free wine here. I get calls all the time. I have so many gallons of wine, we can't sell it, or it went SO2 or something, or we don't want to store it. So we get wine, and we process it to an eau de vie, a white brandy.
Okay.
And then that eau de vie, we use that for the base. We add the anise seed, and then we cook that through.
And then
Make the Audic. So we don't use any yeast strain for that because we're getting this wine coming in,
right,
and make the eau de vie.
Oh.
And we also make a orange liqueur out of that spirit, out of a brandy spirit, a passion liqueur, and then like a port wine, but it's 60 proof. So we do those as well with that eau de vie.
So you just kind of pick and choose what you want to do with that.
Yeah, it's a different line.
So do you, depending on what they send you, you're like, oh, I'm going to use it for this or that, or pick and choose.
Yeah.
Kinda.
So we have like a late harvest Zin that we have like a port characteristic to it, or a sweet vermouth kind of thing.
Okay.
We can use for like a Manhattan. So we have to have a Zin that comes in that has that jammy, raisiny, peppery thing.
Right.
So we can move into this what we're spec for. But if we have one that comes in, we can really strip some of this stuff so it's like 190 proof, so there's nothing left except alcohol.
Yeah.
And we can flavor it with oranges and organic sugar and things like that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you can, once you strip those, you can manipulate them a little bit, with flavorings.
So you make your liqueurs and stuff like that. Yeah, I like port a lot too, so that'd be good to try as well. Do you make you don't make any cocktails with port, do you?
I do. I do like a bee's knees, and then I float the port on top.
Oh, okay.
So kind of the reverse of a sunrise, tequila sunrise.
Right.
It's on the top floating down.
Right, exactly.
And people stir it in, and they think it's cool. I know some chefs that take that and they reduce it out the alcohol, and they use it like for a sauce.
Sauce, yeah. I was going to say that.
That one's pretty cool. And then we make a Manhattan out of it.
Oh, okay.
So we
Nice.
just cast strength that, and then some cherry bitters, and then a little cherry juice from the Luxardo cherries. And we send those out. People like them. Yeah.
Man, you're busy.
Yeah. I think there's, what is it? A black Manhattan kind of thing works too. So a little Amaro in there and kind of go in that direction with that port. That helps.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, you are like, that's so cool that you're like, you've done the whiskey thing, but then you're kind of really branched out and really kind of gotten creative with everything, with every different, alcohol kind of here.
Yeah. People come in, they trust me, and they say, just make me a drink,
Yeah.
And like last night when they were doing that to me, I was making a bourbon reposado old fashioned for these guys, and they were asking me, "What's this?" And I says, "It's a bourbon reposado old fashioned." And I go, "This is really good." And then I'll give them a little taste of the reposado, and I'll say, "This is one of my better batches." And they'll say, "I'll take a bottle." So now I sold a drink in a bottle,
Yeah. I mean, that's the way to do it. I mean, yeah. I mean, when we go to those distilleries, yeah, they make cocktails, and I'm like, oh, like that's pretty good. So we'll get a bottle of that if we can buy it. Depending on where we're at. We were in Texas and we couldn't get anything on Sundays, and that whole thing, I'm like, come on, man, I want to buy a bottle. Let's go.
That's ridiculous.
I'm like, come on. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, the bottle sales is what keeps us alive. The cocktails kind of just marketing piece and get to know people and the branding. I go out to distilleries and I have cocktails, and they don't share sometimes. They don't share the recipe, the cocktail. It's a secret.
Right.
So I'll spend like $80, $90 on it and figure it out. And wife will drive me home.
You're like, it's this.
I'm going to get it, I don't care what it costs. Wife will drive me home. Then I call it the $80 cocktail. And then I'll go, is it $80? No, it costs me $80.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. So you're doing all this stuff. So what kind of inspires you, like doing stuff like that, or like how do you get inspired to be creative and do all these different things?
I guess it's that chef in me, I say, I just want to do good stuff, I just want to be a leader. I just, I want people to say, this is good, this is really good. I want the medals, I want to be a leader, in our world, that's kind of what drives me. That's, it's that ego thing. And just to be honest, I mean, that's what drives me. I want to make really good tequila. I want people to go, this is really good. This is better in Mexico,
Yeah, right.
Then the cartels come, right? Then it's a real compliment,
That hasn't happened, has it?
No,
Okay.
no.
I was like,
But yeah, I just, I just keep striving for people's, praise. And it just, I don't know if it was a child and I didn't get enough, but that's kind of what drives me, Let's make it better. Let's make it better. Can we do this? Can we do a twist on it, And people come in, oh, this is really good. I told so-and-so, I met this guy on the plane. I'm sending a bottle to, New Zealand. Your stuff, I'm going to pay to have it shipped because these guys got to drink it. I mean, that's what drives me.
oh, that's cool.
Yeah. The money comes, it comes and it goes,
Right.
Whatever you're into,
Exactly.
it does come and go, and there's different markets for it and different timing. But, if you really feel like this is going somewhere, and you can train a crew and they feel good about coming to work every day, I know I bribe them with alcohol and free lunch, but, if they feel like, hey, this is a cool environment, this is, people like it, we got good vibes here, and everybody seems happy. I like coming to work here.
Right.
That's kind of what I try to
No,
create.
I mean, that's what, a good leader should do, right? Make people want to come and work for them, do some cool creative stuff that's like new here,
Yeah, and they don't see the side, where I was crying one time. I did all these agaves, and I think I got like a teaspoon of alcohol after like 3 or 4 days of work. I mean, I just screwed up the whole thing, but that was just part of the process to get there.
Right.
So they don't see some of that stuff. I've made some gins for, contract distill gins for some really good people that pay well, and they said, this sucks. It just takes you down to the floor, but you got to get in the game and make it so they said, this is fantastic.
Right.
So, they don't see that side. There's a lot of failures, there's a lot of money that goes into those failures, and a lot of late nights, or a lot of, it just didn't work out. What are we going to do with it now?
Right.
There's a lot of comments of, hey, this needs some work, and those are from people you trust.
Right.
And if they don't tell you that, then they got to get kicked out of the seat and put somebody in, tear your ass up,
Exactly.
Find somebody that can really do it,
exactly.
So they don't see that, but that's what gets you to those things where you submit something and in your heart of heart, that's better than the silver. I don't care what they say.
People giving you good feedback.
Yeah, and then you go to the next place, they give you silver, and then you go to the next place, they give you double gold. You say, yeah, we've done enough behind that to know, that is where it is. And that takes, the right players. And I used to do that with food. I put plates in front of people, and I knew some people that really knew food, and they'd tell me, I'm getting too much of this, I'm getting too much of that. My wife's like that. The other day I gave her some mango chutney, and she was like, oh, I don't get the spice. And I said, it's coming. And she says, oh, I'm getting it. She said, does it need more? And I said, well, if you're having wine, would it ruin it? We're just playing back and forth on it.
Yeah.
That's how we do things behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Get them in there.
A lot of testing.
Yeah, get them in there. And here, try this. And, I'll challenge them, They challenged me, and I think it's like an open thing. I was reading a book on communication. They were talking about Netflix and that whole culture, and basically everybody can say whatever to anybody in that forum, which I think is great, as long as it's not personal.
Right.
If it's to help that company move forward, then we got to hear it.
Yeah, exactly. The best idea wins, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, you should have some things in the coffer to ensure that.
Yeah.
And promote that.
So then what inspires you then? So what are you looking at? Like, are you looking at, magazines? Are you looking at stuff online? Like, how are you putting all this stuff together? Maybe for your cocktails, but everything else, you're like, oh, let's do that. Or,
Well, I always tell my wife, we got to go out and hit some bars. We got to see what's going on out there.
Yeah.
Just for research. That's all. Let's go to some high end bars and try some of their different cocktails. Talk to the bartenders. The young guys. And young gals that are pushing it. See what they're doing out there, and then you get all the magazines.
Right.
And see what they're doing on a global thing.
Yeah.
And you get kind of a kin for the trends that are coming in, and whether you want to ride that, you get a gut feeling, hey, that might just be a flash in the pan, or that might be something cool. You know?
Right.
I think going to other distilleries, and seeing what they're doing. And, I went to a distillery in Utah, and they had a dunder pit, which is what they do in Jamaica. They rot sugar cane.
Oh, okay. Is it for rum?
Yeah.
Out there?
Yeah, but they're doing it like in Utah. They had this dunder pit going on, So you just go to these different distilleries, and you see what they're doing, and you talk to the distillers. Usually the number two will tell you everything. Number one guy is kind of, a little
the
closer.
under wraps. Yeah.
Yeah, but the number two guy will tell you everything, what they're doing, the barrels they use, the yeast strains, stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's a big deal. And then, people around you, they're always, if you got good people around you, they're asking you questions. And then you got to think about your answer. Did I really think this through, what I'm doing? Because they're asking me, and I got to come up with something good.
The question, right?
Yeah, so that pushes you. You put people around you that are smarter than you, and I think that's what I'm really. It's not hard to be smarter than me, so I put a lot of people around me, and a lot of them are asking questions. People come in and ask questions, and I think it's great. So I think that also inspires me. It's dudes asking me questions. I doing 4 or 5 other distilleries now. I'm helping people build distilleries and their pots and things. So that's what I do and consult on the side. And I went the other day, and they were asking me some questions. And one of the winemakers says to me, "Do you buy your mash from a brewery?" And I looked at him, and he says, "Yeah, I heard from another distiller that they buy all their stuff from a beer brewery, and then they run it through their still." And I looked at him, and I said, "Do you buy your wine from another winery?" I said, "How do you get behind something like that?" You know what I mean?
Right.
So that he's asking me a good question, but I'm asking him a better question back.
Right.
And I think that's good, all those questions, because it really makes you think, did I think this through?
Right.
Am I doing the right thing here? Before you respond. So that's another thing I really like is people come and ask questions, just like this podcast. When you said, I want to do a podcast, I say, yeah, this guy's going to ask some pretty good questions, and I'm going to be taped forever. so I got to get on this one.
No, you're all good, man. It's just a big hangout, just talking whiskey, So do you store away stuff like in your memory? Like, like when you go to a bar, you're like, oh, let's try this and let's try that together. Or maybe I'll use what I make and kind of bring that together.
Yeah, a lot of times you'll go to bars for research, or you'll go to bars to sell your different spirits.
Oh, okay. Yeah, right.
So you'll go into a bar, and there's a couple of bars in Ventura, and there's bars in Monterey, and there's bars in our county, and sometimes they'll let you get behind the bar and use
start
your
making
product.
stuff.
Yeah, which is
Nice.
really cool. Like they'll run you through it. Make this, make that. And then you get a feel for it. That spirit would really work here, and that one probably wouldn't.
Right.
If it's a rum place, rum fish, and Ventura, obviously it's rum forward, or if it's a bourbon place, or more on the Hispanic side,
The tequila, right?
You
Mezcal.
figure it out real quick. We've taken over bars, like tap takeovers. We've
Yeah,
taken
right.
over with our spirits, like speakeasies and stuff. So
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you have those opportunities, and then you can go in and ask people, hey, what would you do with this? My son works at a bar, a high-end bar in Paso, and so I always throw bottles to him and say, what would you do with this? Because he's coming from another angle.
Right.
And he'll say this, this, and this, and he'll talk to his bartenders that he works with, and they'll come up with some stuff. And I'll go, that's pretty cool. I didn't think of it that way.
That's cool.
Yeah, so there's going out to bars and basically, doing intel or spy work and see what they're doing and trying to make it better than what they're doing. Or there's going and trying to distribute your spirits to those bars by showing them, hey, this tastes better, this is local, and the price point's better. And if it isn't, we'll adjust the price so we can get in there. So all 3 of them work for you. So it's an obvious choice. Then they put your name on the drink menu. Now they're branding you.
Right.
They're advertising. So
yeah, some of the big restaurants around here are like, oh, local, whatever it is, like local whiskey or, bread or, like local pasta from Edo or, all that stuff. That's really cool.
It's totally cool because like some of these menus, once you get on, they're on for like 6-8 years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so you can just count on that item always just cruising. And then people that like it come to the distillery to buy a bottle.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So it's
You're like, oh, where's that? Oh,
yeah,
let's go get a
it
bottle.
works real good. And then you try to get those bartenders to come in privately for different sessions that you're going to do. We used to give them the tips service certificate, so safe service. We used to give that class to these bartenders so they'd have the card to cut people off, so they would be certified.
Oh, nice.
So we did that, and we come up with bidder programs for people or garnish programs. We try to support those,
the local bartenders.
Yeah, so we get to know them pretty well. So we kind of feel like, hey, they know us, and
Yeah.
we're all of the distilleries in the county are distributing, most of them, and they all do this process.
Everybody here does that. It's kind of the same thing you're doing.
Yeah. So it's a little fierce. It's like that bottle's up on the shelf. It's a piece
you're
of
like,
real
hey,
estate. I'll knock that shit off and I'm gonna put mine up there.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah, anything keep your bottle up. It's that's placement.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, nice.
In the beginning, I had some pretty girl go into all the bars and just pour alcohol. And I told her, just make them happy. Don't try to sell them anything. Just make them happy.
Yeah.
Just show them the bottle. Try this. So then I thought I'd do it, not in a dress, but I thought I'd do it,
Not in a dress.
And I went to one place and they didn't dig my stuff at all, which is fine, because maybe it wasn't the bar for it. So I gave it to the patrons, and that really pissed them off. They were throwing me out as it was, and now I'm giving free alcohol to their patrons. So like 2 or 3 months later, the guy comes to our distillery, and I'm thinking, oh boy, he's still mad,
Yeah.
He didn't even recognize me, and he's saying, this is the best. So, it was like a full circle kind of thing. Sometimes it doesn't work out in the beginning. You
just got to wait.
Yeah, and they come back later. Or it goes the opposite. It worked out real well in the beginning and it turned later for some reason.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well, that's not good either.
Tito's comes in and says, hey, I'll front you 20 cases. So you don't have to pay on it for 2 months. Yeah, your ass is out of there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, well, good deal, man. All right. Well, anything else you want to talk about before we kind of wrap this up?
Just the new place on Del Rio.
Yeah.
We're really looking forward to doing some community events there. We just did
The Tamale Festival, right?
Yeah, we just did Tamale Festival. Prior to that, we did the bar for the chamber event, 400 people out at Rava.
Okay.
So we donated our time to that. We're doing a big fundraiser for Women's College Fund, June 2nd at our place.
Excellent.
It'll probably be 200 people. We're going to give some of the proceeds to Women's College Fund for grants.
Excellent.
So we're always doing stuff for the community, the Boy
that's
Scouts
great.
or whatever we can. So if anybody's out there listening, we're doing a thing for the tennis, Tascadero tennis. We just did one for the football thing in Templeton. We want to get these community things aligned with us, as long as they're close to our belief system.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I think that's something I'd like to say, that if there's somebody out there who wants to do something, we definitely talk to them about it and help them out.
Nice, man.
We want to give back. We feel like the community's done so much for us.
Yeah.
Just definitely through the pandemic and everything.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so we feel like, hey, let's all work together. Buy local, shop local, be local.
Definitely. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's our deal.
So yeah, your next thing is what, June 2nd coming up?
June 2nd. Yeah, it's a Sunday. We'll have a big pizza oven going. The guy from Villa Robles that does the pizza there will do the pizza for us.
Oh, nice.
We're going to have 2 bars, one inside, one out. We're going to have some blues playing. So, yeah, maybe a fashion show thing going on.
You said fashion show?
Yeah, we're going to get one of the dress shops to come over and walk around, Hey, whatever we can get sometimes,
Right.
It just brings more energy,
Yeah.
As long as the wife permits it, we're good,
I mean, that seems pretty harmless to...
Yeah.
Yeah. Pizza, fashion show, blues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet, man. All right. Well, yeah, I think let's wrap this sucker up.
Okay, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming.